Let's first define what is a sinking city. From its description, a sinking city simply means the level of the land on which the city rests on keeps on reducing. Majority of the cities in the world sinks by land subsidence. Land subsidence is the gradual settling or sudden sinking of Earth's surface which could be due to natural phenomena or human activities. Most of the land subsidence is caused by human activities. Tectonics, glacial isostatic adjustment, and natural sediment compaction are part of the natural processes of land subsidence. Subsidence from human activities occurs as a result of compression of shallow layers by loading of the buildings, which make urban areas the most prone to land subsidence because water and gas are forced out. In deeper layers, this problem is exacerbated by deliberately extracting resources such as groundwater, oil, coal, and salt for human use. As the groundwater reduces, there is less internal pressure in the land to support the city. Cities that have experienced rapid urbanization and population growth have subsided considerably as a result of growing demand for groundwater withdrawal, thus continuing to increase subsidence rates. Aside from land subsidence, the sea level is constantly rising at an increasing rate every year with an estimate of 3 mm per year, causing coastal cities around the world vulnerable to sinking. The reason for the constant increase of sea level is due to global warming, which started since the first industrial revolution, and it leads to an increase of temperature in the sea. This is intensified as more and more trees are cut down. Due to this, ocean water expands and increases in volume. Land ice, which stores nearly 2/3 of the world's fresh water, is shrinking because of the temperature rise. The ice lost from heat adds water to the sea, thus causing the sea level to rise. A few examples of sinking cities are Tokyo, Shanghai, Tehran, and Mexico City. There are many cities in the world that experience land subsidence, but the fastest sinking city in the world is Jakarta, the capital city and the largest city in Indonesia. It is on the northwest coast of the island Java, with a population of around 10 million as of 2016. However, this land is literally disappearing into the ground. Many researchers have estimated that by 2050, 95% of northern Jakarta will be submerged. This shows the subsidence of Jakarta throughout the years. Jakarta sits on a swampy land with the Java Sea surrounding it and has 13 rivers running through the city. For the past 10 years, North Jakarta has sunk 2.5 meters and continues to sink by as much as 25 centimeters a year, which is more than double the global average for coastal megacities. Almost half of Jakarta today sits below the sea level. The people and the government of Jakarta are responsible for the sinking of their city. Jakartans, both residents and commercial buildings, illegally dig a big number of wells and pump the water from the underground aquifers for themselves. The lack of planning by the government is the cause of unreliable piping system provided as it reaches less than half the population, hence the illegal wells. The plan to recharge the aquifers are also lacking from the government, especially since most of the ground surface is covered with concrete. Contributing to the over-extraction of groundwater is the unusable water of polluted rivers which factories dump wastes into, and other reasons. There are numerous impacts of land subsidence in urban areas and can be categorized into environmental, infrastructural, economic, and social impacts. Among all, the infrastructural impacts of land subsidence in urban areas are usually more recognizable. All these include damages to buildings, foundations, subsurface structures, and others. The environmental impacts of land subsidence come in the form of frequent coastal flooding and wider expansion of flooding areas. All this happen because the land has sunk below the sea level. Environmental impacts of subsidence in urban areas are the main contribution to other subsidence impacts. They are interconnected to social impacts and infrastructural impacts which lead to economic impacts. The economic impacts are due to damaged infrastructures that require huge repair costs. The social impacts are the disruption of the people's activities due to the deterioration of quality of environmental condition. Flooding-prone areas will lead to deeper water depth or flood areas and displace people from their homes. There are generally two policy strategies for subsiding cities: mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation only works for human-induced subsidence. Typical mitigation measures include restrictions of groundwater extraction and artificially recharging aquifers. Building with lighter materials decreases the load on soft soils, thereby decreasing consolidation and subsidence. Adaptation must focus on reducing the impact of subsidence. For increased flood risk as a result of subsidence, adaptation measures include the heightening of embankments and others. One of the current solutions to keep water out of the city is by building a dike around the city. Infiltration wells are needed to aid the soil to absorb rainwater. The main sign of a sinking city are the cracks which are visible in buildings and infrastructures. Here are some examples of cracks due to land subsidence.